Good morning, everyone. This is Michael, and we are today having our Soul of Nations meditation. We are looking at what the Tibetan has been saying about the country France. We have thus far looked at his comments on the United States and on Great Britain, a little bit about Russia, as that was formative at the time. We've looked at Italy and now France, and of course I think there will be a kind of sequel to the Destiny of the Nations book coming out with his new installment. Many things have changed on the international scene. Well, we've been beginning these programs because we are in a period of decision relating to the preservation of democracy, basically, with worldwide implications, because that's the way it is at the moment. We have a significant challenge occurring within the United States, but it's not just the United States. It's kind of a prototype of what might occur in other nations as well. If the dweller on the threshold of the human race once again asserts itself, perhaps more strongly than the angel of the presence. The great wars of the 20th century have been conflicts between the dweller and the angel, and this was true also long ago in Atlantis, when we consider the great battle of Kurukshetra, apparently a real battle, maybe 4 million years ago, excuse me, south of the city, which is now New Delhi. So we begin then with great invocation number 2, which is an invocation for assistance by great first-ray beings who focus their energy at this time within Shambhala. Let the Lords of Liberation issue forth. Let them bring succor to the sons of men. Let the rider from the secret place come forth, and coming save. Come forth, O Mighty One. Let the souls of men awaken to the light, and may they stand with massed intent. Let the fiat of the Lord go forth. The end of woe has come. Come forth, O Mighty One. The hour of service of the saving force has now arrived. Let it be spread abroad, O Mighty One. Let light and love and power and death fulfill the purpose of the coming one. The will to save is here. The love to carry forth the work is widely spread abroad. The active aid of all who know the truth is also here. Come forth, O Mighty One, and blend these three. Construct a great defending wall. The rule of evil now must end. Oh. And I think by our thoughts we can learn to contribute to the great defending wall, which is a wall of truth, helping to cancel out the spell of illusion, the spell of glamour, under which so many millions of human beings labor. Well, we are here looking at continuing with the nation France, which has such an important role to play in the psycho-scientific destiny of humanity. The discovery of the soul on a scientific basis. Right now, you know, it is, for so many people, a hope and a dream that it does exist, and that survival of the physical body exists, and that reincarnation does exist. But where is our proof? As DK has emphasized quite realistically, it's not that people are coming back from the dead and announcing the truth of these matters, but there will be a way to prove the internal realities. And if all goes well with France, it will be such, it will be the country through which it comes. The nation itself, well, it has the fifth ray soul and the third ray Leo personality. The soul is ruled by Pisces and the fifth ray. You can see what a tremendous scientific sensitivity is possible as a result of that combination, because it has to do with research regarding the subtlest factors of our nature, things that are behind the scenes and hidden, factors which are very elusive, as Pisces can be, but there will be the keen beam of intellect focused upon them, and it will not be limited only to outer discoveries. The inner discoveries will emerge. And then, you know, the third ray Leo personality, as DK has told us, it has caused you know, some difficulty over the years, because it has a tendency towards a manipulative selfishness. Well, you just put the keywords of the two factors together. Third ray, you know, financial manipulation, and Leo, at first, selfishness, though heights of exemplary service can be reached under the sign Leo and in the sign Leo. And Virgo, the soul sign of Paris, the city of Notre Dame, with the rulers of Virgo, all of them count, and Capricorn, the personality nature. You know, it's kind of interesting about Impressionism. I was thinking about that. French Impressionism in the artistic field. I was thinking that this is very much a Piscean factor. When the harmonic language of music began to dissolve toward the end of the 19th century, the classical harmonics, France came in with a whole new kind of harmony, and the musical equivalent of Impressionism in the visual arts. And we had many experiments in the artistic field. I think also coming through its Piscean soul. It just occurred to me that this would be of importance. Now, how far did we get last time? We stopped with the idea of the indirect rulers coming, the influences on the nation coming via the planetary rulers. So Ray 2 is the love-wisdom ray. It's not part of the ray chart, per se. And, excuse me, but it is related to the rulers, the zodiacal rulers of soul and personality. So we have Jupiter as one of the major rulers of Pisces. And that brings in the love-wisdom energy, and the Sun, veiling, I think, a non-sacred planet, at least that seems to be the hint, is also considered a strong ray 2 influence, and these are the most powerful. And this ray 2 influence, in my view, will orient France towards scientific spiritual psychology. The factor of the soul governed by the second great love wisdom energy will be the focus, and the method will be via the fifth ray. We're told that actually, in terms of the methods of teaching truth, there's a whole list of how the different rays teach truth. The fifth ray, in its higher expression, is associated with esoteric psychology. And the second ray influence here will help strongly, and will help to bring through that Piscean influence in its salvation mode. Now, what about ray 1? Power or will via Pluto. Pluto is the esoteric ruler of the soul sign Pisces, and also the hierarchical ruler, so the first ray is coming in strongly. This is the, and it's interesting how the Tibetan sees this. This is the destroyer ray and can bring the death of the Leo influence. Now, the Leo influence he's talking about, I think, is the lower Leo influence. It has to do with pride and grandiosity and feeling of being, better than many others. And this, of course, egotism on the level, international level and national level. It's simply called nationalism. So there has been, through the centuries in France, that nationalistic tendency, but we know that Scorpio, with a strong connection to Pluto, and Pisces here too, will end that particular egotistical approach. and then the higher aspects of Leo will begin to emerge. Ray 3, well, let's see, this comes in a couple of different ways. Active intelligence via Saturn. Now, of course, it is the personality ray of France, so therefore very strong, but this is coming in via Saturn, and Saturn here is a ruler of Paris with its Capricorn energy. So this Saturnian influence cooperates with the third ray personality of France, and at this time, Saturn offers most definite opportunity through the focus of power now to be found in Paris. Now that was, of course, 70-something years ago, and people who are French and more intimate to the study of the state of the nation can determine whether this is still the case and to what extent, if it is still the case. But there's an example of reinforcement. The third ray personality is there, but Saturn is a third ray planet in many respects and is coming through the personality ruler of Paris, Capricorn. The capital cities really do contribute their energies to the overall expression of the nation. What about Ray 4? Harmony through conflict. Mercury is the regular ruler of Virgo, which is the soul sign of Paris, the capital. So, therefore powerful, and a question arises that the Tibetan posed and can be answered by those who have made a study of the last 70 or so years in terms of France's relations with other nations. Can France work for world harmony in the post-war period? I suppose the Tibetan is suggesting that the possibility of reverting to the Leo influence could occur, and that would not be the same as working for harmony. But France suffered so much in the Great War through the occupation by Germany, and Germany had all that very strong first ray. So this ray of the destroyer that we looked at earlier, that's part of a kind of humbling process occurred, because to be conquered and occupied like that, given the historical status of the French nation, had to be destructive of a lot of old attitudes. France had to be grateful for the liberation that came from the Allied forces during the invasion at Normandy and the battle to reach the heart of Germany and to conquer the Axis powers. So, did France work for world harmony in the post-war period? That would be our question. Now here is Ray 5, and its concrete knowledge again, via Venus, which is the hierarchical ruler of Capricorn. Now, Ray 5, of course, is the soul ray, so there's a double emphasis again. In this, a realized cooperation with the soul ray, says the Tibetan, which is also the fifth ray, can bring about, through the French nation, a consummation of the Piscean influence or genius. Now, it's interesting, because the planet Venus is exalted in the sign Pisces, which is the sole sign of France. So there's some kind of great salvation for humanity along a scientific genius line that France can offer through Pisces, through Venus, and through the fifth ray. And then we have one more example, ray 4, this time through the moon, thus aiding the work of Mercury, because we had Mercury in relation to Virgo. Now we have the moon in relation to Virgo, and producing that needed internal conflict which will release France from Leo and from the control of her self-centered personality. It seems like we always somehow need release from our personality ray, whether we are an individual or a nation. He's telling us here that I'm calling your attention to the fact that the astrology, which I am emphasizing, is that which is concerned with the effective energies and what they are and from whence they come. And of course this can be really applied to individual astrology. I would repeat here, as I've often done before, that I am not concerned with predictive astrology. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist, of course. And DK actually hints at that. He says that, for the average individual, the horoscope will so often be very exactly determining and will speak of the fate of the individual without a lot of variation. The coming emphasis in astrology will be upon the available energies and the use the subject makes of them and the opportunity which they present at any given time. So he's basically giving us an important hint there. I have, he says, given you France somewhat in detail so that you can appreciate the extent of the influences which determine any nation and make it for the first time what it is. Of course, and we can apply that. He's done this with Italy, and he's done this with the United States and with the United Kingdom. He didn't call it that, he called it Great Britain, because I think that Ireland probably has its own fate in the future. The combination of Piscean power in the Piscean age, plus a potent Leo nature, enabled France at one time to express quite phenomenally its innate subjective tendency to save the world, for France is essentially on the path of the world's savior. Now, this is so interesting that nations, like people, can follow one path or another. And this was aided by the brilliant, clear vision of the fifth and third rays with their intellectual bias, plus the opportunity offered by Saturn ruling Paris. Yes, I think, well, I'll just read this, I'll just read this. It looks like something we could really get into, but I'm not sure that I have the opportunity next time to do that, because we're changing a little bit our format, and we'll be looking at some other countries that DK does not normally discuss. So France is on the path of the world savior. Very interesting. This enabled France to stage the Great French Revolution and strike one of the major blows for the release of humanity from bondage. Liberty, equality, fraternity, the great influence of freedom, salvation through freedom, and the idea of the brotherhood, and the idea of the equality eventually monadic equality. This has twice occurred during the Piscean ages. Now he has a plural there, and you kind of wonder. One was at the signing of the Magna Carta at Runnymede, and again at the French Revolution. Strike major blows for the release of humanity from bondage, and that we would associate with an aspect of the world saviorship. The recognition of the importance of the rights of humanity as a whole came to the world via France, so we see what a gift it is. It marked a climax and a high point in the evolution of the nation. Since then, Capricorn and Pluto have produced crystallization and the death or obscuration, temporarily, of the then emerging soul aspect, speaking symbolically, and the note of France has not been a selfless one. So interesting how there was a high point reached, but then a retreat from that, and we see that as well in other nations. Fear settles in, and a retrenchment. The forces of the soul are working, but France is as yet predominantly governed by personality and by the selfish aspect of the Leo influences. Well, again, 70-something years ago, is it still so? France as yet matters to herself more than humanity matters, and the question is, can she achieve the terrific task of decentralizing herself or sacrificing herself for the common good, and of relinquishing her dreams for France in the vision of the whole, and so tread again more fully the path of the world Savior? Well, certainly there was a very strong French resistance against the Nazis, and that contributed greatly to the liberation, and it was undertaken in the spirit of liberation. The Tibetans' assessment, however, from 75 years ago, there are as yet no signs of this. When the time comes to make peace treaties, it will become clearer which way France will go, and whether she will work for peace and security of the whole in love and with wisdom, with which she is equipped, or for France with intellectual brilliance and selfishness. Okay, well, a rather full treatment of this nation, and a lot of gratitude, I think, to the spirit which comes through the French nation, and which again will emerge. It's just a question of when, and has there been a greater emergence coming over the last years. So this will be the end of 24 October. And no. And yeah, that takes it to that point. And morning presentation. Okay. Now let's reflect a little bit on our own global citizenship. Because that's the thing, of course. We are citizens in a larger sense, spiritual citizens of the world. That's the desirable goal for us. And we work not only individually, but we work through our particular nation. And we come in contact as much as possible with the light of the soul, which throws the light of truth upon our own individual and group situation. And we think about our internal citizenship of our own nation and the contribution that our nation can make as we try to transition into a greater expression of the values of the fifth kingdom, the kingdom of souls. It's on its way, and we individually and in our groups and in our nations are responsible for bringing the values of the fifth kingdom forward, if we can. So we want to live as souls, and we want our nation, where we live and what's emerging in our country. We want soul expression for that nation. So think of it, you may live in Germany, in France, in Japan, the UK, America, South America, Brazil. You may, live many different places on the globe. Vietnam, we have so many students now from Vietnam. And what is it that we can do individually with our soul qualities, our own soul qualities, to build the soul expression of our nation? Let's have some moments of silence as we ponder that. Just imagine that a stream of soul energy is going forth from your nation, and it is contributing special qualities to the soul of humanity as a whole. It may be that the motto of your nation, as given by Decay, if it's one of those nations for which he gave the motto, will give the hint as to what must pour forth to enhance the soul expression of your nation. and see the stream of soul energy from your own nature, your own higher nature, joining the stream from your nation. Because as a citizen, a spiritual citizen of our nation, we can make the transition into being a spiritual citizen of the entire planet. A truly international spiritual citizen. And this is the time when at last, the soul of humanity, eventually a second-ray soul, will be emerging on a large scale, and humanity will make its transition into the fifth kingdom. At least a considerable number of human beings will make that transition, and that will uplift, leaven the whole. Let us sound together the mantram of unification, understanding that cooperation between peoples, nations, is our inevitable destiny, and the sooner the better. But it has to begin with ourselves as we seek to serve and spread love in our surroundings. As one of the other meditations tells us, the sons of men are one, and I am one with them. I seek to love, not hate. I seek to serve and not exact due service. I seek to heal, not hurt. Let pain bring due reward of light and love. Let the soul control the outer form and life and all events, and bring to light the love that underlies the happenings of the time. Let vision come and insight. Let the future stand revealed. Let inner union demonstrate and outer cleavages be gone. Let love prevail. Let all men love. If we can really get deeply into these words, we'll find our true relationship with everybody, and the spirit of domination and hegemony and conquest and selfishness, these things will fade away, and instead we will have that rich offering from the many different cultures representing the nations of the world. And every human being eventually will be able to give his or her gift to the whole. And that is what we strive for. So let's, keep very much our citizenship, our world citizenship in mind. And it is a spiritual citizenship because it sees each one of us as part of the one soul of humanity, serving the Christ wherever we may be, and resolving the many, many problems which are now appearing and have, I think, been obvious for millennia, but bringing those problems into a state of solution through the energy of love and wisdom, really utilizing every ray energy from every ashram under the spirit of love and wisdom, the major energy of our planet, and also the major energy at this time of our solar god. Love wisdom is what we fight for, sacrifice for, attempt to bring forward. It's so much beyond the usual lying contentiousness which characterizes the, let's say, the political field at this time, governing international relations, and in some places worse than others, of course. Everyone has to be respected and their gift drawn forth, cultivated and drawn forth in the spirit of love, wisdom. So, with those thoughts in mind, and at a critical period for humanity, critical because the great conclave is coming, and requiring an intensified point of tension because the opposition to humanity's successful emergence into the New Age is very much with us, so that has to be fought through the fire of the will to good. We will then close our little reflection with the great invocation.